Hi from Toronto. My name is John Kyo, and welcome to the Future of Food 10 by 10 blockchain series. In this highly anticipated series, I'll speak with 10 blockchain companies for 10 minutes to get their views on the key challenges in the food industry and also the key opportunities where blockchain may play an important role. And today I'm delighted to have with me one of the co-founders and the CTO from Origin Trail, Branimir Rakic. Hello, Branimir.
Hi, John. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And the 10 minutes goes very, very fast, Branimir. So in the first 30 seconds to 1 minute, can you tell us a little bit about you and also Origin Trail?
Sure. So Origin Trail is a decentralized network running on the Origin Trail protocol. It's open and permissionless, and it's been designed to tackle the issues of supply chain data sharing. The key issues there being untrusted, unstructured, and inaccessible data, which altogether we call bad data. And it works on the basis of blockchain. So it utilizes blockchain, but it's per se not blockchain itself. It's really designed to exchange information in a more sort of traditional decentralized peer-to-peer way, where it leverages blockchain for certain activities. We've been actually building solutions since 2013 in the food industry, actually way before blockchain, before we knew about it. So we have a lot of experience with GS1 standards. We're actually collaborating on developing them, and we really focus on the aspect of data semantics rather than specifically blockchain in that sense, but we use it as a useful tool. Is that a minute or so?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you very much, Branimir, for that. So in the 7 years that you've been together, what have you seen as the consistent or key challenges that the food industry has today?
Yeah, so from all this sort of experience, it's been obvious that transparency is one key thing that has been bothering the whole supply chain industry in general, especially the food supply chains, which really also brings to the issue of trust. Specifically today, it's the most important, as it's the supply chains have grown global. Food comes from all corners of the world, and in order to be able to trust the actual the actual products, it's essential to know the key aspects of the supply chains, and that means also sharing of this data. So I think the key challenges are really transparency and trust, and towards really building a sustainable food system, a global food system, which is really the ultimate challenge that we're all facing.
Gotcha. So three key things in there: transparency, trust, and the globalization of the supply chain. And I guess the visibility of the data as you start to globalize, which enhances the transparency and trust. I'll come back to those as we go through the conversation. But now when you look at the key opportunities for the food industry, where do you believe the key opportunities are where blockchain can play an important role?
Yeah, so unfortunately, blockchain has this sort of dogma around it that it's a silver bullet for everything. It's a great tool, but for some things, and the thing that really helps is trust. There are certain upcoming standards that leverage blockchain, which I encourage everyone to look at. These are specifically decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials that are spearheaded by W3C. This is what Origin Trail is based upon, and these standards enable companies or anyone really, consumers, whoever is really part of a supply chain in sort of a wider sense, to verify the integrity of certain claims. So that claim might be a claim by a certification body saying that my tomatoes are organic, or maybe an audit of a company that happened in China, which is one of the cases we actually work on with our partners from BSI, the British Standards Institution. And this type of verifiable data is crucial because today, specifically because of this pandemic situation, we're more and more detached from the supply chains. It's becoming, the world is becoming more online, and there's an exponential growth of data. So it's key to have tools that enable us to verify the integrity of this data, and that's going to be essential in the years to come, I'm absolutely sure. Just to add upon that, there's been a lot of development in other industries like machine learning and AI sort of branches of the industry, which the key sort of oil for that industry is data, raw data. And these systems are significantly taking over in terms of automation, in terms of how businesses are being run and decisions are being made. And it's really it scares me a bit to have these systems run on something that's untrusted. So I believe there's plenty of opportunity for businesses, specifically in the food industry, to communicate this trust by using blockchain technologies or similar technologies that enhance trust, both for in relations within the supply chain, but also at the end of a consumer end, where the consumer gets to pick. And it's even more easier to pick today online because you're not in a store, you're not confined in the physical matter. You actually can traverse the whole internet and find whatever you want and whatever the best offer is too.
Yeah, gotcha. Thank you, Branimir. There's a lot to unpack there. You mentioned the dogma or the silver bullet around blockchain, and it's not the perfect solution for everything. You mentioned trust as being one of the key opportunities, and the evolving standards from W3C around verifiable credentials and decentralized IDs. You talked a lot about data and verifiable data as supply chains grow and being able to verify the credentials of claims that companies are making. So I will come back to those at one of those time permitting, but I want to go back to the key challenges. And you talked about transparency, trust, and globalization. On transparency, can you give an example of why that is an issue and a challenge today? Why is transparency an issue in the food industry?
Yeah, so it's always been sort of begging the question of, in terms of several aspects. One of them would be the origin. That would be problematic in several sort of ways. One would be sort of the traditional way consumers think about, like, if they would like to know where their produce is coming from for various reasons, safety, perhaps just for wanting to support local businesses, but also within the supply chains, companies are increasingly having to invest in being able to understand what's going on within their supply chains, to understand exactly how much risk is involved in their supply chains. And transparency is really key there, because all of these things are getting automated more and more every day, and there's so much goods moving along. By statistics, problems have to happen, and you're going to be able to minimize these problems the more transparency you have, essentially. So we've seen cases that have shown this would be the food scandals, for example, with the horse meat in lasagnas, and the issues around the melatonin in milk in China that have had catastrophic consequences. Some of the things that would be definitely better handled, at least if there was more transparency involved and the ability to actually verify this transparency in a way.
Gotcha. Now, in about 1 minute, I want to go into one of the key opportunities. If you can articulate in about 1 minute how blockchain can benefit, and the standards, how can they benefit the claims? Let's say someone is claiming something is halal or it's kosher. What's evolving in that area where blockchain can play a key role in about 1 minute?
Yeah, so from traditionally, one would show someone a certificate or some sort of a document, and this document could perhaps be forged. So the integrity of traditional documents is not as strong as the integrity of the verifiable credentials that you could create with blockchain. So it's actually quite a big advancement, and the ability of forging something on a blockchain is almost close, like basically zero. It's so little that it's almost impossible. So in that sense, blockchain brings to that part of the equation a lot of value. To the part of actually verifying what's the content of a claim, it cannot really help, because it's not a system that can verify truth. It really does verify. It does help you verify that some person A said claim B, but if claim B is true, that's something that, and if person A is trustworthy, that's something on the consumer end of this information to decide if they want to trust this. Now, if I have a moment extra, I would say how we actually approach this. So from the perspective of making this more trustworthy on the data level, one thing you can do is you can connect more of these claims together. And if, let's say in the simplest terms, you see that everything fits, if there's no anomaly in the information, and there's claims from multiple parties around the supply chain, that also increases the likelihood of this information being true. But again, we always still need auditing companies and someone who's going to do this on the ground in a physical way, be that laboratories to verify the actual physical chemical content of certain goods, or someone who is actually going to check that everything's according to standard and not against regulation.
That's right. Thank you for that, Branimir. We're over our time, but I'm going to ask you one question. And that question is around, if you were up in front of 50 startup CEOs in the food industry in 30 seconds or so, what guidance would you give those CEOs who are just starting off?
Definitely to be patient. It's a very slow-paced industry, but also to look towards digital as much as possible, because even though it might be a problem today, that not a lot of digitization is present, it's exponentially quickly being solved. So I believe there's a lot of room for improvement there, and we could use help when it comes to building transparent solutions, because there's a vast space there that needs to be tackled. So I guess that would be the 30-second encouragement pitch.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. 10 minutes, or a little bit more than 10 minutes of wisdom from Branimir Rakic, the CTO and co-founder of Origin Trail. Branimir, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you very much, John, for the opportunity.